Let's be honest with yourself for a minute. Do you ever feel like you are running on a never-ending treadmill? You pour all your energy into work, selling your time and health cheaply. Yet at the end of the month, your bank account remains as empty as if a coin had never passed through it. Perhaps you earn a decent salary, but strangely, when your income rises, your expenses rise to meet it. You watch your peers buying houses, upgrading cars, and traveling, while you are still struggling with the math of survival from one paycheck to the next. Or maybe you always tell yourself, when I make more money, I'll start saving. But that day of more money never seems to arrive. If you feel stuck in this vicious cycle, if you wonder why you work so hard yet remain poor, then this video is exactly the key you have been looking for. We will not talk about dry theory. Today, I will take you back 2,500 years to ancient Babylon, the cradle of prosperity. There, a man of humble beginnings, a poor scribe, discovered a financial code, a secret so simple it is hard to believe, yet powerful enough to make him the richest man in the kingdom. Turn off all phone notifications and walk with me to the end of this story, because that system of wealth building is being handed to you right now. Long ago, when the world was still very young, Babylon was a jewel in the middle of the desert. Its stone-paved streets were always bustling with merchants trading gold, silk, and spices. But amidst that luxury existed a heartbreaking paradox. There was a young man named Zamir. He was a scribe, a carver of letters. Every day, from before the sun rose until darkness fell, Zamir sat in the Hall of Records, diligently carving laws and texts onto clay tablets. His hands were skilled, his strokes were sharp, and he worked harder than anyone else. Yet Zamir had nothing to show for it. Week after week, year after year, his meager earnings simply evaporated. He wondered, where did the money go? Money for the baker, money for a new tunic, money for offerings to the gods. It all vanished like smoke. Zamir looked at his friends, men who toiled just as hard as he did, living in cramped houses, wearing coarse clothes. And then he looked out the window, where the gold-plated chariots of the nobility swept past. A burning question erupted in his mind. Why them? Why not us? One evening, Zamir's childhood friends gathered. They were all exhausted. One friend exclaimed bitterly, "Zamir, we work as hard as anyone. We are honest. We are not stupid. So why does the goddess of fortune turn her back on us? Why, after so many years of selling our labor, are our hands still empty?" In that moment, Zamir looked at his empty purse, and a determination awakened within him. He spoke slowly to his friends. "My friends, I do not know the answer, but I swear I will not accept this fate. If wealth is a destination, there must surely be a path leading to it. And if there is a path, there must be a map to learn." That night, Zamir made a life-changing decision. "I will no longer stand on the sidelines watching others enjoy life. I will find the secret of prosperity." To get rich, Zamir knew he had to learn from the best. And the opportunity arrived in a terrifying form. The next day, Balthazar, the richest and most powerful moneylender in Babylon, walked into the Hall of Records. He was known to be ruthless, sharp, and cold. Balthazar threw a complex law set onto the table and ordered, "I need the 9th law copied. I need it in 2 days. If it is finished on time, I will give you 2 copper coins." Zamir accepted, but the text was too long, and human strength has limits. When Balthazar returned after 2 days, the work was not finished. Balthazar's face flushed red with rage. If Zamir were a slave, he surely would have been beaten severely. But in that moment of extreme fear, Zamir did something unprecedentedly reckless. He looked straight into the eyes of the shark of Babylon and said, "Sir Balthazar, you are the richest man here. I am just a destitute scribe. Let us make a deal. Teach me how you became rich. In return, I will carve this tablet throughout the night. No sleep, no rest. When the sun rises, you will have what you need." The room fell silent. Balthazar was stunned. No one had ever dared to bargain with him, let alone a lowly scribe. But then, a smirk appeared on the old fox's lips. He replied, "You are an audacious fellow, but very well. I accept this bet." That night was hell. Zamir's back felt as if it would break in two. His eyes stung from the oil lamp smoke, and his head buzzed from lack of sleep. But every time he thought of giving up, the image of wealth pulled him back up. Dawn broke, and the stack of clay tablets was complete. Balthazar checked every stroke. Perfect. "Now," Zamir said, his voice trembling with exhaustion and anticipation. "Keep your promise." Balthazar sat down, his gaze softening slightly. He said, "I will tell you, for I am old, and the old like to pass on wisdom. But listen closely. If you do not grasp this truth, your labor last night will have been in vain." He leaned close to Zamir's ear, whispering in a low, powerful voice, "I found the road to wealth when I decided that a part of all I earn is mine to keep." Silence filled the air. Zamir waited, bewildered. Is that it?" Zamir asked, filled with disappointment. "That is it," Balthazar affirmed, his eyes sharp as knives. "It was that very thing that turned me from a hired shepherd into the richest moneylender in Babylon." Seeing Zamir still did not understand, Balthazar asked, "Boy, isn't all the money you earn yours?" "Of course," Zamir replied. "Wrong," Balthazar shouted. "You are sorely mistaken. Do you not pay the garment maker? Do you not pay the sandal maker? Do you not pay for the food you eat? You are working for everyone in this city of Babylon, except yourself." He pointed a finger at Zamir's chest. "You are no different than a slave, toiling away just for your master to throw you food and clothes. Look back at last month. Is there a single coin left in your purse? Or last year? Empty." The words were like a splash of cold water on Zamir's face. He bowed his head in shame. It was the naked truth. Balthazar softened his voice. He pulled out a pouch and placed a gold coin on the table. "Listen, if every time you earn 10 coins, you keep one for yourself, how much will you have after 10 years? Equal to the money I earn in 1 year." Zamir calculated quickly. "Wrong again." Balthazar shook his head. "You only speak half the truth. This gold coin does not sit still. It is a loyal slave working for you. Every copper coin it produces is its child, and that child also works for you. Money begets money. Interest begets interest. That is how a fortune is built." He stood up, his shadow stretching across the floor. "The first and most important rule: pay yourself first. No matter if you earn little or much, immediately put away at least 1/10, 10% into your own purse before paying anyone else. Pay the tailor and the shoemaker later. You must keep the seed for the tree to grow." Balthazar left, leaving Zamir sitting alone in the empty room. The mantra echoed in his head. 1/10 is mine. 1/10 is mine. It sounded too simple, even naive. But Zamir decided to try. The next time he received his wages, he secretly hid 1 copper coin in the deepest corner. The remaining 9 he used for expenses. And a strange thing happened. Zamir realized he still lived fine. He still had enough to eat and wear with those 9 parts. But the feeling of owning a purse that was growing heavier day by day, that was a thrill he had never experienced before. 12 months passed, 12 months of perseverance. When Balthazar returned to the Hall of Records, Zamir held his head high with pride. "Master," Zamir said, his voice trembling with excitement, "I have done exactly as you taught. I have saved 1/10 of my earnings for the entire year." Balthazar smiled with satisfaction. "Well done, my son. So what did you do with that money?" Zamir eagerly explained, "I gave all my savings to Azmur, the brickmaker who works at the Western Kilns. He invited me to pool our capital to buy rare jewels from Phoenicia. He promised that when he returns, we will sell the gems and split the massive profit." The smile on Balthazar's lips vanished. His face darkened like the sky before a storm. "What?" he exclaimed, his voice low with disappointment. "You gave your savings of an entire year to a brickmaker to buy jewels?" Zamir was stunned. Why would you trust a brickmaker's knowledge of gemstones? If you wanted to learn about the stars, would you ask an astrologer or a baker? "You have made a fatal mistake, Zamir." Balthazar shook his head wearily. "Your money is gone. Azmur will be swindled by the cunning merchants of Phoenicia. He will bring back worthless bits of glass. You have uprooted your tree of wealth before it could even sprout." And the truth unfolded exactly as the cruel prophecy foretold. Azmur returned with a bag full of colorful glass beads, not worth a single copper. Zamir's capital, accumulated through sweat and tears over a whole year, vanished completely. Zamir was devastated. He wanted to give up, but Balthazar's encouragement echoed in his ears. "Plant another tree, and next time, if you want to know about sheep, ask a shepherd. If you want to invest, ask those who have succeeded in that field." Zamir gritted his teeth and started over. This time, he was wiser. When he had saved enough money, he sought out Agar, a reputable shield maker, to pool capital for buying bronze. The venture was a brilliant success. Every 4 months, Agar paid Zamir his share of the profit fair and square. 2 years later, Balthazar returned. This time, he saw Zamir dressed more neatly, radiating a new confidence. "I hear you have invested in the right place?" Balthazar asked. "So, what do you do with the profits you earn?" Zamir beamed. "Oh, master, life is wonderful. With the profits, I threw grand feasts with fine wine and honey cakes. I bought a magnificent scarlet tunic. And soon, I plan to buy a donkey to ride to work so my feet won't be tired." Zamir waited for praise, but none came. Balthazar laughed, a bitter, sarcastic laugh. "Foolish. You are so foolish," the old man exclaimed. "You are eating the flesh of your own children." Zamir was bewildered. "What do you mean, master?" "The interest you earn is the child of your principal. You should have made those children continue to work to produce grandchildren, then great-grandchildren. But no, you squandered them on feasts and fine clothes. You killed your army of golden soldiers the moment they were born." Balthazar looked straight into Zamir's eyes, sternly. "Listen to me. Build an army of golden slaves first. Let money beget money, layer upon layer. When that army is vast enough, you can buy as many fine tunics and drink as much fine wine as you please without ever fearing poverty. But for now, curb your appetite, reinvest." This third lesson soaked into Zamir's very bones. From that day on, he lived a double life. On one hand, he was still the humble scribe. But on the other, he was a brilliant investor in the shadows. He saved, he invested cautiously, and most importantly, he did not spend his profits. He compounded his interest into his capital to keep investing. Years passed, and Zamir's gold coins multiplied exponentially. 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000, and 1,000 became 10,000. His money tree had now become a vast forest, sheltering him from all the storms of life. Then one day, when Zamir's hair was turning gray, Balthazar, now a frail old man, sought him out. "Zamir," he said, his voice shaking but full of pride, "I have watched you all these years. You have learned how to keep money, how to use money, and how to make money beget money. My own sons are the opposite. They only wait for me to die to divide the inheritance and squander it." Balthazar took Zamir's hand. "I want to invite you to become a partner managing my estates in Nippur, and when I pass, you will share in my legacy." And so, from a destitute scribe, Zamir rose to become the richest man in Babylon, not through lucky lottery wins, not through miracles, but through iron discipline in following the immutable laws of money. The story of 2,500 years ago ends there, but your own story begins right now. You see, Zamir was not smarter than you. His starting point was even much lower than yours. His secret is wrapped up in 3 laws that you can apply immediately after watching this video. Law 1. Pay yourself first. Don't wait until the end of the month to save, because by then, there will be nothing left. As soon as that direct deposit hits your account, immediately transfer 10% to a separate account. Call it your Freedom Fund. Treat that 10% as a tax you pay to your own future. If you can't do 10%, start with 1% or 2%, but start today. The habit is more important than the amount. Law 2. Don't trust the brickmaker to buy diamonds. In this era, the brickmaker is the get-rich-quick advice on the internet, the investment scams with absurdly high interest rates from people with no expertise. Protect your money. Only take advice from those who have real results, true experts. Do not gamble your sweat and tears on luck. Law 3. Build your golden army. Compound interest. This is the key. When you have savings, don't rush to buy a new iPhone or go on a luxury trip. Invest it. Savings accounts, index funds, long-term stocks, whatever channel is safe and profitable. And absolutely, do not eat the profits. Let interest beget interest. Time will turn your small sum into a massive fortune. My friends, getting rich is not waking up one night to find yourself on a mountain of money. It is a process of planting seeds, watering them, and patiently waiting for the tree to grow. If a poor scribe in ancient Babylon could do it, why can't you? Don't let another 5 years, 10 years pass with you still sitting here, complaining about poverty. Comment below, "I choose to pay myself first," to declare your commitment to the community. And if this video brought you value, share it with a friend who is struggling financially. That is the best way to spread prosperity. Thank you for listening. See you at the peak of financial freedom. Goodbye.